Okay, we're going to move on to the implant delivery and expansion portion of the procedure, and these are the instruments you'll need to do that. The inner and outer tube assembly is the same assembly that you've had with the Generation 1 handle. However, I'm going to highlight the X handle, which is the new handle the engineering team has developed for us here at Amplify. It's got a couple of nuances I want to highlight for you. You'll notice that it doesn't have a silver lever on it, and the drawbar does not have the thick black threads. The thick black threads and the lever handle go together. The new drawbar with the non-lever and pull pin handle go together. They are not interchangeable. The first thing you'll want to do is load the tube assembly onto the handle, same as before, where it rotates and clicks into the holes. And if you need a little bit of help with that, have the scrub tech pinch the two silver tabs, and that seats in place, okay? You'll notice it has a pull pin on it, and that's going to become apparent as to why we need that in just a second. It leaves a couple of threads of slop, I call it, to where we can compress the implant after it's loaded. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a second, okay? The implant, once opened from the package, comes in a blue pouch. I recommend leaving it in the blue pouch and having the scrub tech just expose the hub of the implant through the blue pouch and keeping it compressed like that for loading. For demo purposes though, I'm going to show you what it's like to load the implant without the blue pouch. I asked the scrub tech to keep the implant compressed between their fingers. And if this was, the hub was a spigot of water, it would pour right into their hand. That's to eliminate them from trying to hold the implant like this. It doesn't work once we put it onto the handle, and I'll show you that in just a second. So keep the implant compressed the entire time and load it onto the handle. I like to have them put the proximal end of the handle against their belly and then load the implant with no space between the implant and the outer tube, keeping it compressed the whole time and turning the thumb wheel finger tight. Keep this compressed, don't let go. Now you're gonna have to hold it with one hand to get the drawbar in from the back. That's why holding it like this doesn't work. Hold it like this in one hand, a whole assembly. And using gravity with this drawbar, it's a two-stage insertion. Use gravity and just let the drawbar engage the nose of the threads at the distal tip. That's what you did when you turned this knurled handle, okay? The second step is now engaging the drawbar to the handle, and that requires a plunge and turn. It requires you to do that the whole time until that's finger tight, okay? So it's two distinct processes. One, put the threads into the distal end of the implant and the threads of the nose. And then the second one is to engage the drawbar into the handle by doing the plunge and turn. Now, you see how the implant is a little bit sloppy when loaded onto the inserter when you do that. Here's where those threads come, the pull pin comes in. Pull the pin, and that gives you a couple of threads to turn back counterclockwise to compress everything back together again. And now you're at zero in order for the surgeon to receive the implant for insertion, okay? If for some reason the pin disappears, or you're doing a second level where the scrub tech turned the handle and didn't realize where they were, we can do this a different way, in that I would ask you to take the handle, hold the counter torque portion of the handle, and turn it counterclockwise the entire way. If you turn this clockwise and continue to turn, the Acme bolt will come out, and we can take it out for cleaning. It goes right back in again. But having that happen on the back table may be a little disconcerting to the scrub tech if they're not ready for it. So you don't want them to be able to turn clockwise the whole time. I want you to turn counterclockwise until the handle stops. There we go. Now, turn clockwise 3 half turns. 1, 2, 3. That's the equivalent of having the pin in the handle. It gives you those couple of threads slop, I call it, to wind the handle counterclockwise to compress everything back together again. So even without the pin, I can load the implant as before, keeping it compressed, turn the thumb wheel, keep it held compressed the whole time. Use gravity for the first stage, right? Just 2 fingers on the drawbar engages the threads into the nose, and then a plunge and turn does the rest. Now, turn back those 3 half turns and you're back at 0 again.